Ready to go ahead with the next panel discussion, which is on synergizing robust digital infrastructure with the smart cities. And may I invite our distinguished moderator, Dr. Mahesh Uppal, Director ComFirst India. Yes, sir. Kindly grace the stage with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Mahesh Uppal. Inviting our keynote speaker for this session, Dr. Sushil Kumar Chaturvedi, CEO, Ascent Telecom Infrastructure. A very warm welcome. Inviting our eminent panelist, Sri Arun Goyal, IAS, member CERC. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Inviting Sri Arvind Bali, CEO, TSSC. Warm welcome. Inviting Sri Debi Prasad Dash, EDIESA. Warm welcome to you, sir. And Sri Subrata Kumar Mitra, Vice President and Head Regulatory, Ericsson. And ladies and gentlemen, before I hand over to the moderator, I have the proud privilege of introducing the panel. Our distinguished moderator, Dr. Mahesh Uppal, Director ComFirst, has contributed extensively to the process of creating the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India as a consultant and commentator for nearly 25 years. He has closely tracked the evolution of India's telecommunications market and has advised national and global businesses, UN and other international agencies, as well as the civil society groups. He comments on emerging policy and regulatory issues are widely reported in electronic and print media, including internet, TV, radio, and newspaper. And our keynote speaker, Dr. Sushil Kumar Chaturvedi, is Group Chief Executive Officer leading Ascent Telecom since 2012 and is an accomplished telecom professional with 37 plus years of global experience. He has led national and international telecom organizations and has been honored with the President's Medal VSSM for Distinguished Telecom Services, and has many more awards to his credit, some being Deloitte and Stellar CEO Award for fastest growing telecom IT company in Asia Pacific, 2009 CEO ORG Informatics Limited, CEO of the Year Award 2016 by the World Leadership Federation, Icon of the Year 2019 WBR Corp, and CEO of the Year 2019 by APAC HRD Congress, International Icon Award 2022 WBR Corporation, New Delhi. And he's been the most admired Global CEO of the Year 2022 by Passion Vista, an outstanding contributor for national economic and social development by PEF Foundation, New Delhi. A warm welcome to you, sir. Eminent panelist Sri Arun Goyal is presently member of the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, is 1985 batch Indian Administrative Service Officer of the Union Territories cadre and the former Secretary to Government of India. During his 34-year stint in the government, he held many challenging and important assignments in the Government of India, state and the Union Territories governments, particularly in the areas of infrastructure, finance, power, commerce and industry. And we warmly welcome you, sir. Our eminent panelist, Mr. Arvind Bali, is the current CEO of the Telecom Sector Skill Council, TSSC, and is an accomplished business leader with 35 plus years of expertise in managing various business streams with globally respected outcomes. And currently he is ushering in new initiatives into TSSC with an ardent focus on the future. TSSC is a fast venturing into skill development in emerging technologies like SG, IoT, ML and AI, drone technology, among the others. And he visions that the frontline workforce will play an important role in our nation's digital future. A warm welcome to you, sir. And we have with us Sri Debi Prasad Dash, Executive Director, India Energy Storage Alliance, Customized Energy Solutions, And he has been involved in the techno-commercial feasibility strategy formulation and consulting in emerging technology areas like the energy storage, advanced battery, renewable integration, green hydrogen, smart grid, electric vehicle infrastructure, and microgrids. He is also involved in policy recommendations for the energy storage and EV roadmap for India, manufacturing policy for advanced energy storage technologies, and development of ancillary markets and green hydrogen roadmap for India. And ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Subrata Mitra, who is the Vice President Head of the Government and Industry Relations for Ericsson India and the world leader in providing information communication technology to the telecom service providers. He currently oversees the government relations and public affairs for Ericsson India, leading a team with responsibility for the company's public policy agenda and regulatory engagement on a range of priorities. He is an experienced government relations and business executive and joined Ericsson in 2018 and have been working in the ICT industry since the year 2001. And ladies and gentlemen, this panel discussion is planned to discuss the various issues that are faced in developing robust digital infrastructure for the smart cities, the role 5G services will play, and synergy required for seamless integration of physical and network infrastructure. With those words, I hand over to our moderator, Dr. Mahesh Uppal, for his opening remarks. And after his opening remarks, we begin with the keynote presentation, followed by the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure, indeed a privilege, to be moderating this session for you and with the distinguished panelists that I have on both sides of me, and for a subject that we all have a very good sense of, even though smart city by itself has no unique definition. And we do know, of course, infrastructure, which all of us are largely associated with. But from smart cities, we expect improved livelihoods, improved lives, quality of living. We expect improved mobility. We expect improved energy management. We expect a sustainable approach to environment. These are things that I think we can all agree on. And what our experience has been in this area, what are the challenges that we face, how we might overcome them, is some of the kind of issues that I'm hoping my panelists will discuss. And without further ado, may I now request Mr. Chaturvedi, whom you have recently been introduced to please give us his keynote address. Mr. Chaturvedi, thank you. Thank you.
Our esteemed guests this afternoon, my distinguished fellow panelists, we welcome all of you to the DIPA flagship event hosted by DIPA, with a special thanks to the DIPA chairman, Shri Duaji, of taking the initiative, getting all the stakeholders together under one roof, which is need of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, these are very exciting times. The panel discussion today is very pertinent. The issues faced in terms of deploying a robust and quality digital infrastructure in smart cities, the role 5G services will play, and the synergy required to have a seamless integration of physical and communication network infrastructures. Historically, good cities have always been the seat of economic power. The tradition continues. The mega cities of today are the seats of economic excellence, both nationally and internationally. These are the cities which are able to attract foreign investment, international business, and the best talent from across the world. And therefore, in 2015, the government, through the Smart City Mission, embarked on a journey of special urban development program with 100 cities in the first phase, which were termed as the smart cities. The way core services, the infrastructure, and the quality of life would be delivered in these smart cities is part of the Smart City Mission. Broadly speaking, you could probably club the various activities of the Smart City Mission into three domains: livability, economic ability, and sustainability. Urban mobility, health, education, water and sewage management, solid waste management. These are the indicators of livability. Creating a healthy climate for investment, nurturing innovation, establishing businesses are the indicators for economic ability, and issues pertaining to clean environment, pollution, green energy, carbon footprint. These are the indicators of sustainability, which is at the heart of the Smart City Mission. So what makes a city smart? A smart city uses technology, digital solutions, and data delivered over a digital infrastructure network, which improves all the quality of life indicators of its citizens. With the 5G now becoming a reality, these cities would actually become connected cities. So going forward, a smart city would be synonymous with a connected city. While establishing these infrastructure, there are challenges with respect to connectivity, coverage, capacity, bandwidth, and therefore, the communication infrastructure assumes a very important role in addition to the physical infrastructure. The visionary initiative taken by our Honorable Prime Minister, which is termed as the Gati Shakti, is actually a monumental step taken by the government to bring all the stakeholders together in order to have a sustained development. It is akin to a train where you have all the relevant ministries as the coaches with one engine driving them at full throttle on one track in one direction. And this is what we term as ease of doing business. Gati Shakti, literally translated, would mean speed and power. 5G will provide both. The government, thankfully, has already shown its commitment by enacting a slew of policy measures in the recent times, especially for the telecom sector. We just heard in the panel before about ROW, the latest national digital program announced, which eases the ROW, providing of airwaves in different frequency bands, making street furniture available for a faster rollout, allowing 100% FDI, creating a very favorable investment climate for the telecom sector, and addressing all the concerns of the telecom sector. They have shown their resolve and created an ecosystem which is now ready to launch the next telecom revolution in our country. The role that these digital networks will play, they have to be developed very intelligently. They should be standardized, and they should be future ready. It's very important, therefore, as we heard in the previous panel, that all the state governments also have to align with the central government initiatives taken so that we can have a holistic development, and that too on a much required faster pace. So while the ecosystem has been made ready by the government, the two major players who are going to make this a reality, the telcos and the tarcos. The telcos, as represented here by Chairman COAI, and the tarcos, represented by Chairman DIPA here, and the DIPA members, are fully committed of making this a reality. Just to give you some indicators, the telecom traffic in the last 5 years has grown 15 times. It is predicted, with the advent of new technology and the use cases, it would double in the next 2 years. And therefore, to show the commitment, the telcos have, as part of their Mission 25, have committed 2 trillion Indian rupees of investment over the next 3 years. Similarly, in order to deploy the Wi-Fi mesh networks, the broadband networks, IoT, and other adjacencies, the TARCOs are also committed. Because currently we have close to about 6 lakh towers in the country. As per the RF planning norms, there is a need for additional 1.5 lakh towers. And at the same time, another 5 million small cells have to be deployed if we have to have a seamless connectivity throughout the country. And what this means is that on one hand, there will be an investment, but on the other hand, there will be returns and rewards for both telcos and TARCOs. It's stated that the revenue for telcos would be about $17 billion by 2030, and similarly, with this expansion and the adjacencies coming in, there will be an upside for the TARCOs as well. So it's a win-win for all. Looking at the time constraint that I have been reminded just now, I would then hand over to our eminent panel here, where we can hear the views of the panelists on the subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. My apologies for rushing you, but I hope you recognize that my job is unenviable. Yeah. So, moving forward, we know what our experience has been with smart cities, and we've also had our own set of issues, and I thought the person who could give us a brief overview, and the operative word, Mr. Bali, is brief, is about what our experience with the smart city program has been, and what are the challenges that you feel exist, and how we are handling them, or how we might handle them. But keep it brief so that we can give some time to our other panelists.
Yeah, so I have a strong belief that first step is always very important. So as a nation, we launched this 100 Smart City project, which was a very great initiative. And then, when we see down the line, we see that in different cities, different areas, good work has happened. Like, for example, on traffic management, the good work has happened. Smart metering, and a lot of places good work has happened. So multiple areas. So as you all know, that smart city has got multiple elements. So when all those elements are working good, then actually it really becomes smart city. But we as a nation, I think we have been successful in some areas, some pockets. But then when I see from infrastructure point of view, definitely, for making it successful, you have to use street furniture. But we as a nation has a very unique problem, and I've never seen this kind of issue anywhere in the world. World over, there is an issue of protecting private assets. As far as government assets are concerned, like nobody touches that. In our country, like anything which is like in the public area, public domain, people just steal those things. I give you an example. Gurgaon came out with such a smart bus stands, around 450 stainless steel. And when this project was conceived, at that time they were even thinking of putting LED screens, even bus arrival times, departure time, everything was to be given. But then, not when we see that a lot of things have been stolen, even to the extent that, like even stools and display stainless steel, everything has been stolen. So as a nation, I think we should fix this problem if we really want to become successful in Smart City Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bali. And may I now go to Subrata, if I may, Subrata. I mean, I don't think this audience has the slightest doubt about the centrality of 5G to this exercise. And maybe you could tell us why you think 5G is so central to this exercise and how we are faring on that.
Thank you, Mr. Uppal. Uh, the way we are looking at the smart city and 5G, first let me congratulate the industry and the government on an extremely successful 5G auction. And as you're hearing, the 5G network rollouts are happening. See, if you see the smart city layer, there are multiple verticals within smart city who are going to rely on a robust, low latency, high speed networks. Not all sensors will need the similar connectivity, but they will need connectivity. 5G will actually bridge that gap which exists today, which these sensors are looking at. So whether it is, as Mr. Bali alluded to, smart metering or transportation and all, 5G will help them to connect. And it's our belief that a robust 5G connectivity, and now that government has given spectrum across low band, mid band, and millimeter wave, we expect a ubiquitous connectivity in cities, which will be then used by these smart city sensors, both in the public government domain and private domain, like parking management and others, which will enhance and augment smart cities, what we know. And we are also confident that you will see huge number of new use cases, startups coming up who will provide subjects like micro mobility and all, which are yet to come to India, but will significantly address the issue of transportation and that. So I'm extremely confident that a robust 5G network rollout will actually augment the growth of smart cities in the country.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And maybe now I can come to Mr. Goyal. And Mr. Goyal, you've been talking about the importance of regulation in this space. You are a regulator yourself. And if you could tell us what the role of the electricity regulators and power regulators in this whole exercise might be, and how we might want to optimize their working together.
Thank you. So firstly, you see, I think there's a huge synergy. There's a huge synergy between robust digital infrastructure and smart cities. And for both of them, I think you require reliable power, reliable and good quality power. Now, the issue is that in case we need reliable and good quality power, I mean, there has to be investments that have to be made into the infrastructure. Over the period of time, we all know that because power has become such a big political issue, so, I mean, the right kind of investments are not happening. We see that in advanced countries, there's a concept of N-1, N-2. When we say N-1, that is if one transformer fails, there can be another transformer to back up. Similarly, like if one line fails, there is another line to back up. So that is N-1, but I mean, we can go up to N-2. So, firstly, I mean, in case we want to have, so huge infrastructure has to come, and for that, there is a cost, and for that, everyone should be willing to bear some price and some tariff. So every time clamoring that the tariffs have to be less, then it may not lead to the right kind of infrastructure, which is very much required both for, I mean, digital infrastructure as well as smart cities. Now, considering that there can be a collaboration between telecom regulators and electricity regulators, I mean, there was a working group that was formed. I mean, there is a forum called Forum for Indian Regulators, which has regulators from different infrastructure sectors who are members of that. So that forum decided that we'll have a working group which will decide on what kind of a collaboration can be there between the two regulators. So they come up with very good suggestions. In fact, I mean, there are 3 sets of recommendations. First is, say, regarding, using each particularly power infrastructure for laying aerial and ground fiber. So particularly it has been seen that in Japan, Korea, and in many countries in Europe, this aerial fiber has largely been used for creating, this 5G infrastructure at a very, very less time. And also it is also cost effective. So to that extent, I mean, understanding has been reached that how the regulations of electricity regulators will be changed so that it can be facilitated. Because you say in electricity, you have a central regulator and you also have regulators at the states. And to take care of all the regulators, we also have a forum of regulators, of the electricity regulators alone. So there it is being discussed that how we can have that kind of a regulation. The next issue is that about the small cells. Again, I mean, using the street furniture. So again, as far the DISCOMs are concerned, their poles, I mean, their cabinets, so there is a lot of infrastructure that is available with the DISCOMs, which can be used for putting this small cells. Again here, I mean, Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission, they have already taken a step, they have come up with a regulation, and what are we trying is that similar kind of regulations are also put forward by other state regulators. And obviously, like the DISCOMs will be able to get some revenue out of it, and this revenue, if it is substantial, I mean, also can result in marginal reduction in tariffs. And the other major area of a possible collaboration is that once you have this 5G infrastructure, which is using the, say, the infrastructure of DISCOMs or say power grid, then obviously that 5G infrastructure that is available very close to the electricity infrastructure can be used for all kind of purposes. The small metering is one, but then again now new applications are coming. I mean, with the coming of renewables in a big way, I mean, you have to manage your demand and load, and also the whatever supply very, very closely. For that, you require real-time data. So again, I mean, this kind of a collaboration is possible. So what I want to highlight is that a working group had already been formed, so it has already given its recommendation, and now that recommendations are being followed up with forum of regulators of electricity sector, so that there can be regulation in all the state all the state regulators, so that, I mean, this collaboration can be facilitated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. That's a comprehensive answer, and it's always been clear that 5G in particular affects so many different sectors of our life or our economy that not only would we have issues with telecom regulation, but we will also have challenges, whether it is the application in health from health regulators, whether it's finance, then our banking regulators, and of course, what we've just heard from Mr. Goel. Both the fact that so many sectors will be touched and how complex and important, or let me put it in the opposite, different order, how important and complex this collaboration and coordination between regulators might be, is something we have to apply ourselves to. Now, I'm coming now to Mr. Dash, who also is an energy expert and has applied himself to the nitty-gritty of the energy challenge that we face. So, Mr. Dash.
So, two things I will tell about the telecom industry or digital infrastructure industry, which they should leapfrog in next 5 years, just not going step by step. So, one thing they should leapfrog, still telecom towers or digital infrastructure use the third largest diesel consumptions, which can be immediately changed to the renewable plus storage, as government is now putting forward PLI scheme for both the manufacturing. Second one is about, it's 10 years back, the digital infrastructure was limited to connectivity. Now it's more about data, and huge investment will come on the data center. And we see across the globe, there are few cyber attacks are happening through the DISCOMs. And in India also, we got 3 signals on the cyber attack on the 3 state DISCOMs. And that will lead to the data security issues. So what is happening in Europe and other countries, these data centers are now independently supplied without grid. So we should not go for the grid connectivity, which will happen in 10 years, after 10 years. We should have our own DRE system, which will be an independent, resilient grid, so it will not affect any grid failure or backup or any voltage or power fluctuations. So that is happening in developed countries like Singapore or Germany or any other countries, that should all the data center players or the telco players can go for that. The first suggestion was for the tower cores. And how to leapfrog 5G? There is two way. And as you see, the EV and electric mobility or connected mobility is going ahead in India, and the pace of growth is more than 40%, which was similar to the telecom industry's growth 15 years back. So there is a huge opportunity for 5G connectivity to use in connected mobility or telemedicine space in the smart cities. And in smart cities also there is another opportunity for the 5G spectrum is on the e-learning space. So that is actually we learnt in this last 2 years of lockdown, this 5G actually can revolutionize this space. It is not about just a webinar or attending in the Zoom. How the classroom can be more digitalized, and it can be a long-term way, like Coursera, which is now a billion-dollar company. So this can be replicated in India. So irrespective of its telecom players or its government regulatory bodies, there is a huge opportunity for startups to leverage this 5G what is coming in India.
Thank you, Mr. Dash. And I think all of us know how critical sustainable energy sources are for a viable smart city. So you're absolutely right to underline this. And as moderator, I know two things. One, that my panelists have a lot more to say. They're all experts. But I do believe that I have an obligation to allow at least one or two questions. So we'll throw it open to the audience. If there's somebody who has a short question, by short question I mean anticipate a short answer as well. Thank you. Everybody? So maybe perhaps Subrato might have another shot at it. And how important is it to have a viable telecom environment? How viable operators and viable digital infrastructure providers in this large smart city operation? Of course, glibly, we all know that everybody should be viable, but how critical is it? Maybe is something that you might want to comment on.
As someone from the telecom industry, while obviously biased, but if I take back, say, 10 years back, if you look at any economy, the contribution of digital economy into the overall economy was mostly on the fringe. You had some use cases, 4G was just coming in. But if you think that progress that we have made in the last 10 years, and here I must admit, India's progress on digital transformation in the last 3-4 years, and mostly during the pandemic, has been a phenomenal use case for both the developing world and the developed world, especially on digital payments, using biometric identity, the way how we have rolled out the vaccine programs. All that proves the power of digital technology to transform the economy. And with our stated goal of 1 trillion digital economy, and now the government also fundamentally believes, I strongly see across center, state, and with the municipal and the local governments, that using technology you can transform government. And this is where I believe that when they roll out the smart city initiatives, and again I'll reiterate, smart city is not restricted to government alone. You will have a lot of startups and companies which will ride on providing smart cities like intelligent parking and others. And this is where ubiquitous connectivity comes in. And we believe that when you look at these, if you see them as business stream, they will form an important critical revenue for the telecom sector, as with will be any other sector. And this growth will give two things. One, it will help in growth of connectivity across the sectors, and at the same time it will help telcos to go about investing more in the network, as you will see more and more consumers coming in. And this last point here, unlike the 4G where you saw the consumer takeoff happen and the business takeoff was relatively less, in 5G you will find that the business solution, the business use cases are almost ready, and they're actually waiting for a connectivity to come in so that they can just adopt and go. So that gives me the confidence that it will help in supporting the revenue streams for the telecom sector, and thus the viability.
Thank you, Subrato. The more aspirations we have from smart cities that we all need, and we need them for improving our quality of life, our energy efficiency, our mobility, etc., the more important the telecom infrastructure, both the electronics telecom infrastructure as well as the civil infrastructure becomes. So it is in our national interest that we focus on the viability of this infrastructure, particularly because this is one infrastructure which is largely private-led. So we don't have the fallback option of government coming in and setting up this infrastructure. So it's extremely important, in my humble opinion, that we recognize the importance of a viable industry if we are to achieve what our aspirations from smart cities are. With that, I will say thank you to all my panelists who've been extremely kind and stuck to their timings. And of course, I'll apologize to each one of them separately for cutting them short. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And I would request our eminent moderator, Dr. Mahesh Uppal, to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude and appreciation on behalf of the organizers to all our eminent panelists. We begin with our keynote speaker, Dr. Sushil Kumar Chaturvedi. Dr. Uppal to kindly do the honors. So one memento at a time. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful keynote address. We now present to Shri Arun Goyal, IAS member CERC. We present to Shri Arvind Bali, CEO TSSC. To Shri Devi Prasad Dash, ED ISA. To Shri Subrata Kumar Mitra, Vice President and Head Regulatory, Ericsson. And may I once again invite Shri T.R. Dua to kindly present a memento to our moderator, Dr. Mahesh Uppal. Mr. Dua to kindly present a token of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Mahesh Uppal, our distinguished and eminent moderator for this session. Thank you very much, sir, for wonderfully moderating this session and concluding it in time. Thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Dua, for doing the honors.